Very, very warm welcome. We are going to give you a full introduction and overview of the retreat. But at first, I just want to thank Ajahn Brahm, our teacher, for being here. Maybe I should thank myself too for being here to assist. And thank you to everyone for coming and for being willing to join in this adventure. It is called the Scouts Adventures, actually. So you are the scouts of the retreat, and you're scouting the place out because it's the first time we've done something like this. It's the first time we've kind of cooked for a big group of people. And my Anagarika and previous Anagarika until yesterday have been very busy for a whole month working out the menus and ordering all the food, working out the quantities. So we're really hoping we'll be able to feed you nicely. And Elena also has been making desserts. So it's been fun, and I hope it works out. But thank you. I already heard that you're incredibly cooperative together, and you've been helping in the kitchen already, some of you, and helping with the cleanup. So I think that's what makes a really beautiful retreat. So Ajahn Brahm's been in the country for about a week now, and had a lovely day of meditation today. And it feels like a good time to start to settle into some deeper practice. Excellent. All right.
Okay. Want to do the guided first and then half an hour talk?
Whichever way you prefer. Yeah, sure.
Okay. I will begin with just a guided meditation for just under half an hour, and then that will be followed by a quick little introduction to the type of meditation we're going to be teaching here. Crikey. Usually when people do close their eyes, do start meditation, they do close their eyes. So with the lights are on or off doesn't really matter. You okay?
We'll put it on for the talk.
Yeah, sure.
Just for the live stream.
Okay, other live stream.
Not
Okay.
the live stream, but the video. But it's
Yeah.
okay for meditation.
Yes, okay, fine. One of the reasons we do a guided meditation, especially the first one or two talks, is that in order to give that, they say guidance, suggestions which will lead you more easily into calming the body and calming the mind. So first of all, I think many of you may have heard me do guided meditations whenever I teach from my monasteries over in Australia. You start off with your eyes closed, starting to feel the body. How does it feel for you? Sometimes we do start with pain, discomfort, and it's wonderful to be able to know that you can calm all of those disturbing feelings down. You can actually be free from them. And even it's not just for this particular meditation. You soon gain your confidence in how to enhance the peaceful benefits of a healthy body, how to become more healthy. And that's important to start one's meditation with. So when I begin almost every meditation, I just become aware of my physical posture, how I'm sitting. And I make sure that I notice anything which is not relaxed and peaceful. A general look at the body to begin with. And this evening I've had a very easy day. Other people were working hard and I was just relaxing. So thank you. I can feel my body is at ease. There's no aches or pains anywhere. But if you have a strong ache or pain somewhere, first of all, don't try to get rid of it. Just be with it. Go into its center if you possibly can. Be with discomfort. And as you're with that discomfort, see how you can relax. And the best way of relaxing is with simple kindness. It's one of the reasons when I saw the effectiveness of this, I would always say that instead of just practicing mindfulness, call it practicing kindfulness. Whenever you're aware of something, observe it with this beautiful kindness. Then you find that things in the body relax. And just be patient with any discomfort. Sometimes expand discomfort rather than trying to minimize it. I sometimes call that diluting it. It takes up more of your imagined space, and so it gets less intense. Sometimes I even imagine massaging it in your own body. Sometimes I imagine like shoulders which are hurting because the muscles in either one of those shoulder blades, the left or the right, have been stretched. And I always like the simile which I mentioned the other day. If your shoulders are stretched and something hits it, bing! It's like guitar strings which are too taut. They make a sound very easily. As you loosen the tension in those strings, something hits those guitar strings, boom. The sound is much less and a lower pitch. And if they're really loose, there's no sound at all. So it's like loosening the strings in my shoulders, or my back, or my tummy, or anywhere in my body. Loosen them so the tightness vanishes and the strain disappears and the pain goes. Pain does not last. And after a while one learns how to relax everything so those disturbances do not arise. So I usually start my meditation by relaxing the body. Once the body is reasonably relaxed, one of the next things which I relax is time. Each one of you must have many burdens. Of course I do as well. But I notice how to let the future disappear. How do we let the future disappear? By being kind to it. Instead of having negative emotions or regards to an uncertain future, no one ever knows what it's going to turn out like. That means you can be kind. It's much easier to let go, to abandon, relax, when you have this positive idea of the future. And in order to renounce the past, sometimes we think the past is fixed. No. We choose what events of the past we want to contemplate. So make a decision to only focus on things of the past which were pleasant, relaxing, freeing. Then it becomes much easier to let go of the past. And once you let go of the past and the future, you really let go of it, Then you can focus just in this one moment we call now. Even the word in English, N-O-W, is so simple. There's less burdens to carry in the present moment. It's the only place we can relax to the max. We let our mind just dwell in the present moment. And any time you have a worry about the future, not now. Every time you have a memory of the past, not now. And if you have a peaceful awareness of this present moment, which goes by the name now, you already feel so much more peaceful and free. And you're allowed to do that here on a retreat. It's the way to go. When you can dwell in the present moment, so much busyness, which wrecks our health and wrecks the happiness of our life, disappears. You realize you don't have to dwell in the past or worry about the future. Just be now. After a while you get used to it. You can turn to this present moment whenever you wish. And as you start to be aware of this present moment, you'll soon find that you don't need to start thinking about things or giving things names. We're not investigating sort of the connections between things. We're experiencing them first. And I'll say this simile once. It's one of my favorite similes about how to be silent inside. And that is of Lao Tzu, who when he went for a walk with one of his disciples, he made sure they understood there was a golden rule they had to keep when walking with the master. And that was to be silent. We're trying to encourage silence on this retreat. Why? Because the more silent you are, the more able you are to be really mindful, fully aware. To explain that, the disciple forgot the rule of silence. And so when they were walking up a mountain, and from the high ridge they saw a beautiful sunset. It was amazingly, breathtakingly beautiful. And that's when the disciple forgot and told the master, "Wow, what a beautiful sunset." And at that little speech, the master turned around and went back to the monastery. And then when he got back into the monastery and he could speak as well, the master said, "From this day on, that student can't go on a walk with me ever again." And his friends tried to intercede. It was only a small statement, and it was only because it's a beautiful sunset. What's the problem? And the master replied, as soon as he said, "What a beautiful sunset," he was not watching the sunset anymore. He was just watching the words. And that little story meant so much to me. The difference between being aware and making a comment. You don't need to make comments. Just be aware and notice things in silence. And that means one becomes emotionally much more intelligent. One can feel the truth. it's also far more pleasant. So can you notice how you feel, whatever you're aware of, without giving it a name? When the names disappear, it's much less likely that defilements such as wanting or ill will or negativity, those things just hardly ever come up. One can be peaceful. Can you notice a feeling of peace inside of you right now? You don't need to give it a name, you just know how it feels. And the mind seems to understand much more about the thing we call peace. Many years ago, I started developing the perception of beauty, delight, pleasure, whichever word you wish to call it, whenever I started experiencing peace. And that enhanced the experience. My bodily relaxation, the mental experience of peace got deeper. It became very, very, very pleasant. It meant you could meditate for long periods of time because it was joyful. You came out afterwards and you were happy. See if you can experience the most beautiful perception of peace you've ever had. Your whole body calms down and disappears. And your mind becomes so peaceful and beautiful. Your mind can do that. Let it. Once the mind becomes beautiful, as the Buddha said, the piti sukha coming up along with the breath. Then the mind likes it, stays there. It becomes no effort. In that beauty, stillness, peace, you find you can stay there for a long time. Easy. And the result is just states of deep peace, which will take you deeper and deeper and deeper into the meditations you read about in the books called the suttas, written by the Buddha, or rather spoken by the Buddha. I will be quiet for a few minutes, hopefully so you can enjoy a simple, peaceful meditation. you feel now? How is your body and your mind? The most peaceful, useful meditations are those which are so easy. You don't need to maintain them, they draw you in. I don't think we need the bell. I was just looking for the time, but there's so many buttons on the clock. I have my own clock here. Oh, that's good. So please, slowly come out from the meditation. Open your eyes and remain still for a few moments. Never come out of any peaceful meditations too fast. It's like you want to bring with you greater sense of peace and clarity. So now I'm going to give a little talk, only for half an hour. I don't think we need to change the lighting. Yeah, we do for the video. Video? Oh, okay. Okay, off you go then. So the type of meditation you've heard me teach for so many times, sometimes people get surprised. It's no effort. Sitting down and letting things be, letting things go. And I cannot avoid commenting that this is how I practice my meditation. I don't do anything. Sit down, relax to the max, and become incredibly still. That's what relaxing means. You're sitting down nice and peacefully, comfortably, and if there's any disturbance in the body, you go to that first of all and make it calm and peaceful. Because of that, I'm very happy that you have as many cushions. Okay. Many cushions, not too hot, not too cold, and have enough food which you like, enough drink, and if any of you ever need to actually to sit on a chair or stretch your legs, fine, but do it as quietly as you possibly can, so you're not disturbing others. It's not just about not talking or using mobile phones, but there's always some noise wherever you are in this world, which is one of the reasons why that please don't make a problem of the sound, which they'll always have somewhere. It's one of the reasons why I was taught by my teacher Ajahn Chah, it's never the sound disturbs you, it's you who disturb the sound. And that was such a beautiful teaching, because it was practical. And for so many times I've tested myself out. How peaceful can you meditate in noisy places? And one of those places which I tested myself out was actually up in the centre of Perth many years ago, sitting on the concrete steps of a church opposite what they used to call those days time zone, blaring out loud music. And I was sitting there, see if I could deal with the disturbance of music and cars and other stuff. It wasn't that hard. You stay in this present moment. You stop trying to be negative. Noise exists. Let it be. When you let things be, it's amazing just how easy it is for it to disappear. Of course, not everybody is at that level of meditation, so please try not to make too much noise. But when there is noise, and you can't kind of ignore it, you can't sort of get beyond it, you can't just be with this, so it disappears. Then after a while, this is one of those things one can always do. I did notice in your rooms there are bunk beds. And how many of you are going to be in a room where there's somebody who snores? Please don't get upset at snoring. Don't disturb it. There was one of my monks over in Australia. He was actually from Europe, and he came and asked me once that his brother wanted to visit him from Europe. And I said, of course he's always allowed to visit you, but there's so few spare accommodation. I don't know where we can actually accommodate him. And this monk said, he's my brother. He can actually share my small kuti, my small hut. And I said to him, many of you have visited monasteries in the forest tradition. The huts are very small. They're 3 meters long, 2.4 meters wide. Some are even smaller than that, like my little cave. But he said, I can sleep in the same little room with my brother. But then I asked him, but what if your brother starts snoring? He said, I've figured that out. I'll make sure that I will go to sleep first. So he thought. But of course what happened was his brother shut his eyes and fell asleep straight away and started snoring. Many of us think we never snore because we're not awake when we hear it. So anyway, he started snoring, and this poor monk found it so difficult to fall asleep. So much so that he started remembering that piece of advice which I'd related from Ajahn Chah when I was a young monk. It's not the noise disturbs you, it's you disturb the noise. So this monk could not get to sleep with his brother snoring so loudly, started to imagine his brother's snoring like some experimental music which was breaking all traditions, which didn't have any rhythm, didn't have any beat, didn't have any time. It was deliberately rebelling against every convention of music he'd ever heard in his life. And he told me afterwards, so I'm giggling almost now, he said it took him a few minutes, but after a while he started being so pleased by the nature of his brother's snoring, like music he'd never heard about before. And it was sonorous, it started to appear beautiful. And that's the last thing he remembered when he woke up a few hours later in the morning. He never disturbed the noise, but he saw the beauty in it, which he was surprised could be done. Once he saw the beauty in it, the problem had vanished. And a more inspiring story, that there was one of these stories I love telling. There was one of the retreats which I gave over in Sydney many years ago. And the first day people started complaining about one meditator who was making so much noise in the meditation hall. And the question was many times on pieces of paper, all the same question: can you please ask people who meditate in the hall to please breathe quietly? Because this gentleman was breathing very loud. And I was disturbing people. When I told everybody the reason that gentleman was breathing so loud was he had a big tumor in his sinuses. He wasn't even a Buddhist. He'd come on my retreat because his doctors had given up hope on him. He had sinus cancer and nothing was working. As soon as I mentioned that to everybody, there was no more complaints. When they heard that noise, they realized no one could do anything about it. And there was kindness to allow that gentleman to stay for the 9 days of that retreat. And for 9 days he made so much noise, breathing loudly in that retreat center, but no one minded at all. They saw something else, in that noise. They could accept it out of kindness for a fellow who was trying his best to survive in the only way he knew. Sometimes cancer does heal with some meditation. And I will never forget this story because it was the very last day of the retreat. And there's an important point here. The very last day of the retreat, once he came out of meditation, he came running towards me. He needed to tell me what had happened. He said he heard a popping sound. And for the first time in months, he could breathe through his nose. It closed up after about 1 minute, but that was so exciting. No one else had managed to be able to give that almost magical sort of shrinking of his tumor. To me, I thought it was too late. He should have meditated earlier. But of course I told him to carry on, which he did. And when I went to Sydney the next time, this gentleman came to see me at another venue 6 months later. And of course, you know what he said to me? Do you remember me? Please, none of you do that. Even I, what's your name again? You do forget. But nevertheless, I'm honest. So I told this gentleman, I don't know who you are. And of course he laughed, and you've already guessed. It was that gentleman who had this big tumor in his sinus. He said he carried on meditating. The tumor kept shrinking, more pops later, and now he was in full remission. And I love that story. Of course I couldn't remember him, because when you see someone who's really close to death and something like a cancer, they're all so emaciated. This fellow looked so healthy. It was him. It worked for him. And the reason I say that is, if somebody is noisy, they make a noise and disturb you, please invoke your kindness, compassion. While they're doing that, at least they're coming here on a retreat doing some good things. They'll learn later on how to be silent. But right now, for one reason or another, I'm just happy they're here, learning, growing, and appreciating peace and stillness so much more. Even something even more important. I was telling this, I think, to Ajahn Canda a few days ago, that, sometimes, why is it on retreats like this, always like, it's very few young people, even kids. Please bring your kids next time. Because this is what happens. There was one of these disciples, just like you, she was a school teacher. And she started her year 6 class. That's, what's that, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds? In the beginning of the year, she'd always introduce what she called quiet time. Starting off with 5 minutes of quiet time in the beginning of the year and building up to 10, even 15 minutes by the end of the year. This was in a mixed gender class, and they were mostly Christian kids. But she was a Buddhist, and I remember meeting the principal of that school, and the principal said he got a lot of complaints from those parents of the kids. Why are you introducing Buddhism into a Christian school? And the headmaster was a very strong Christian, said because it works. He said, I'll defend this teacher to the max. The academic results are amazing, but more than that, what he told me I thought was so powerful, so interesting. That's why I repeat it here. He said that every now and again, young kids, 11, 12-year-olds, girls and boys, sometimes they have disagreements. They get angry at each other. But it became the characteristic that when there's about to be a disagreement, an argument, one of their children will put their hand up. Can we have quiet time now, please, miss? And as soon as one person asks for that, miss says, okay, sit down, we can have quiet time for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And all the kids in the class sit so quietly and so peacefully, meditating. They call it quiet time, but she said, watch your breath and all the other usual advice. And then after 10 or 15 minutes, when they come out of that quiet time, the problem disappeared. They have time to consider it, contemplate it, feel it, and no one wants it to continue. It's one of the reasons why I always thought we should introduce that in the Houses of Parliament. Whenever there's an argument, quiet time please, and everybody can just sit down and be still and see just the stupidity of getting upset or having an argument. But certainly these are examples which work, which you see the power of that stillness. And one of the reasons it does work, and one of the reasons which I will often encourage, is just how beautiful that all is. How what you create for others in quiet time, people have a chance, instead of to think about things and put everything into words and ideas and concepts, they can feel this doesn't feel right. All this noise, all this thinking, trying to find out who's right or who's wrong. Instead, you just be still and be peaceful. And the peace answers all of your questions. So this is one of the reasons why that we try to be calm and peaceful and kind to one another. But if anything goes wrong, the most important thing is how you react. Don't try and control anything. Be able to be at peace with things. And when you're at peace with things, you realize you don't need to control. And get in such beautiful, peaceful, still meditations. And how it happens is that because you're not doing anything, everything tends to slow down, relax and stop. And the more it stops, the more it relaxes, the more beautiful it becomes. There is a time when you get tired at first. Please accept that you will get tired. For years and years and years, as a young meditator, I would always struggle with sloth and torpor. You know what sloth and torpor means? The tiredness. Every now and again, somebody else would tell me, Ajahn Brahm, when you're meditating, your head's down here somewhere. For many years, you tried to keep your head up straight, have a good posture for so many years, and nothing worked. And then I remembered, just instead of using my willpower, use my wisdom power and kindness. Wisdom power is always much more powerful than willpower. So I just relaxed. My body had low energy for one reason or whatever. Because of the low energy, that's of course why you couldn't keep your head up. Using willpower just used up too much energy. And I hope you have these experiences as well. That you can start a meditation early in the morning or late in the evening or any time of the day, and you do really feel tired and your body is lurching over. Let it, please. Don't try and straighten it. Because what happens next is you're meditating there. Your body is all over the place. And then it straightens up all by itself. The first time I noticed that, it was shocking. I never did that. I never gave the order. I never tried to stretch any muscles or loosen any muscles. It all did it by itself. And that was shocking. What's happening there is that your will is not under your control. That's one of the first times you saw that. Your body, your breath, your lungs, do you tell them how to breathe? They've been breathing perfectly for the whole day, for most of your life. Your heart, do you tell it how fast to beat? So much of your body is automatic. Please trust the body. You don't need to interfere at all. And your body gets so peaceful when you don't give any orders. You don't have to worry about anything. You become so peaceful and so alert. You really are mindful. You're not doing anything. You're just observing, feeling, without disturbing the processes of these bodies. And that means you get so incredibly beautiful, peaceful, still, enjoying this meditation. Because you're not using up energy, the energy gets regenerated inside of you. And as it gets regenerated, it gives you a source of energy. And that source of energy, when it's not wasted, you soon get very, very alive, very peaceful, and very joyful. The energy goes into the mind, what we call the sixth sense, rather than all the other senses we have. When that sixth sense gets very energized, you feel just so much wisdom, mindfulness, joy, happiness. You can see so much deeper. And you come on a retreat, many of your friends will say, why did you go on a retreat? There's so many other things on the TV this weekend. There's so many things happening in the world. Why didn't you go and see the sights of England? Or some of you can see them during the mist and the rainy day. But why don't you go and enjoy yourself? And honestly, there's no joy better than the blisses of meditation. You really enjoy. 51 years I've been a monk, and I enjoyed every day of it. Honestly. Exactly. Is it okay here? Sorry?
It's a mobile cat.
Mobile cat, okay. Sending a message. Even the cats agree with me. It's really... So you have a lot of happiness, a lot of joy, a lot of fun. And it's really easy, it's natural. Are you enjoying your life? I'm asking you, each one of you. There's all sicknesses and diseases and problems and relying on others and not relying on others. This is our life. Isn't it wonderful to find happiness no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing? That's what happens when you meditate a lot. You get a natural source of joy. You're not wasting the energy, the life of your mind. So that's what I'm going to be talking about again and again and again here. If I am a good teacher, I will see it on the smiles on your faces. That's how I measure how deep a person's meditation is and how wise I become. When you get to the Q&A, you may tell me all these profound things. But I'm not going to look at those profound things and how just smart you are. I can look about the shape of this. That tells me much more about how deep your meditation is going. And I don't know why it is, but for so many people, for so many years, they think that spirituality is boring or is negative. What are you doing that for? Are you going to try and go to heaven after you die or something? No way. You enjoy it right now. You bliss out more than you've ever blissed out before. Beautiful happinesses with great results. In particular, I'm just saying this is of any sort of scholars here, that some people say, oh yeah, that sounds very good, yeah, but. When you start to get a lot of joy and happiness in the meditation, that's why the reason you're still. You don't want to go anywhere. The mind just gets enjoying this moment. Yeah, but what does that do? According to how the Buddha taught, because of those deep meditations, it has an afterglow. That afterglow is the abandoning of the 5 hindrances, the things which stop you being wise, which stops you seeing things as they truly are. Things like desire and ill will, the sloth and torpor and restlessness. Are you restless? If you need to write an essay or solve a problem or do a report for your boss at work, can you just sit down and just write it? Please, I'm not ever trying to build myself up, but I do know, I think you've seen this, you've been hanging around the monks at Bodhinyana long enough, and especially me. Once there was, I give lots and lots of stories, sometimes they're very well received, and one of these ladies said, look, it's ethically wrong, Ajahn Brahm, that you don't publish these in a book, because they're too helpful. So I decided not to. Too much work. I'm a lazy monk. Am I? In some ways. So all these little stories, I had this, she outwitted me totally. I just could see that she made me write this book. And how she did this, well, she said, oh, I'll just write a few stories and you can check it out for me. And she wrote about 5 stories and she made such a mess of them. I think she did that on purpose. And I thought, I'm not going to let these stories be written by this lady. So I did it myself. But how I did it, it's one of the reasons I tell this story. It was many, many years ago. And I was having my own personal 15-day retreat. And I thought, I can spare an hour a day when I'm not meditating to actually just write out these stories. Write them out, with a pen. on pieces of paper, no computer. And it only took me 13 days to write out more than half that book. It was 108 stories. And it was effortless. You just go down there and just start writing. You never think, you never pause. And the weird thing is, there's hardly any typos. Not typos, I can't say typos, it's all handwritten. And the font looks really beautiful. You have seen that, haven't you? I've shown it to you. Yeah, people ask, what type of font did you type that up in? It's just handwritten. I can only do that on a meditation retreat. It finished so quickly. And I finished the rest of it off a short time later. And that has been a bestseller. How many people from Germany here? Dakota Veinti? Yeah. They did a reprint a short time ago. They always sent me a few more copies for free. Don't know how many editions that's been in. It's still got on the front cover, the Spiegel bestseller. How come? And it wasn't. That's just one copy. There's also many other copies throughout the world as well. And how come that could happen? I always ask myself that. Because you are mindful, really mindful, through meditation, you don't try to write. It just comes out quick, easily. No problem at all. That is one of the wonderful things which, like examples of what happens when you meditate. Problems get solved very quickly. Innovation happens. Different ways of doing things. Even writing bestsellers, do it in just a few hours. No problem at all. This only happens because of these, what they call these 5 hindrances vanish. And you can just write. For your career, no matter what it is, it enhances your abilities. And there's no stress involved, which is one of the nicest things. Now, John Andrew, you've known me for such a long time. Have you ever looked really stressed? Do I stress out? You being honest? It's wonderful when you don't need to stress out. You can enjoy life, you can be productive, and you can inspire people, and have so many monasteries I'm supposed to visit all over the world. But I'm very happy. So this is actually how it works. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to teach you how to do that. Be much more productive, no matter what you do in your life. And still be really peaceful, still, and joyful. But that's only the start. As many of you know, you know my reputation. For such a long time, even Buddhist monks have not really done their job for teaching jhanas. Okay, I have many sort of passions in my life. One of those passions is making sure we get equity in Buddhism with bhikkhunis throughout the whole world, but also just the joy of meditation, the bliss states. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced the jhana or even got close, but please, if you do, go for it. Why is it we're afraid of joy? The real happiness of bliss. What he said, it makes your productivity so much more. Not only that, you feel so much happier. Already mentioned, you can do stupid things like overcoming jhanas. Overcoming cancers. I say stupid, I mean what people think is impossible. And these things happen. If you know someone who has a cancer and they get through it, and they know it was through this deep meditation. Wow, what a gift that is. That's why I would like to give that gift to as many of you as possible. But more than that, how come you can even see this, what the Buddha saw as well? For those of you who are devout Buddhists, what did the Buddha do in order to become fully enlightened? Sitting under a tree, meditating, experiencing these jhanas, the mind gets so energized, so peaceful, so still, so blissed out. And as a result of that, you can actually see just the great wisdom of life, who you are, where you come from. Sometimes we used to ask Ajahn Chah where he came from. You know what he answered? I came from my mummy's tummy. That's what he would answer. But more than that, how can you actually understand this and see it and make use of it for beautiful means? So that's what I always do this. And every now and again, not always, but sometimes, people actually do it. They let go, they disappear so much. They get blissed out. Please know you can't fake it with me. One of these American authors, he wrote a book about deep meditation, and he said about he actually ranked like 5 people who meditation teachers who are the easiest and the hardest to ask whether the meditation was really deep meditation or not. The second hardest was the Burmese master, Pa Sayadaw. It's really difficult to get confirmation that you've had a jhana. But the hardest teacher in the world to get confirmation from was this English monk living in Australia called Ajahn Brahm. I laughed at that. You've seen that, haven't you? Yeah, don't make these things up. So you're not going to get away with an easy confirmation. So anyhow, but people do it. They give them so much happiness. If you want it, you won't get it. If you give, that's one of the reasons why people get these great states on the very last day of the retreat. That's why I'm very happy this is a short retreat. You get quicker results. And that means you have a wonderful time. Not just a wonderful time, just having a great joy, but a great joy which gets really deep into the heart of what this Buddhism is all about. And sometimes people say, oh, Buddhism, suffering. Please forget that. That's true. But nevertheless, I want you to approach that from the other end. What happens when the mind does let go? You get so still, so peaceful. You bliss out. Easy. Sometimes 9:00. Okay, carry on tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. It's 9:00.